You know, I have watched a lot of Disney remakes, and there have been a lot of hit and misses. And I'm here to tell you that Snow White is the final nail in the coffin for Disney. This is the rock bottom. This is the worst remake that they have ever put out. Why? Because there are a lot of reasons. First of all, the casting of Snow White. Rachel Zegler is our Snow White in this version. And I'm here to tell you what. Her name is Snow White. It's plain and simple, okay? But talking about her performance in the movie itself, she is fine, okay? I'll put it that way, okay? She is fine. But the thing is, the characterization of Snow White in this film is very missed out, alright? In the original version, she's just a normal princess, alright? From nobody who becomes somebody later on. But in this film, she's basically a girl boss. Because there is a scene where she's meeting the dwarves for the first time, and she's literally telling them what to do for her. Alright? So this characterization is wrong. It's not Snow White that we know and love. She doesn't really need the dwarves to do something, to do everything for her. No, they work together as a team. That's the mischaracterization of Snow White that really stands out in this film as a failure. The second thing is the evil queen, now played by Gal Gadot. With this film, I can truly say that Gal Gadot really can't act, alright? I'm sorry, but that's the fact. There is a scene, there are a lot of her scenes in this one that she's trying to talk, you know? She's trying to convey her dialogues. And some of her dialogues in this film is downright cringe, alright? She doesn't really talk naturally. She tries to play with her voice a little bit, but she really doesn't embody evil queen that we know. Neither does Rachel Zegler. She fails to embody the Snow White that we know, alright? But there is another big problem. You know, in the original Snow White story, there were the dwarves, right? Only the dwarves. But in this version, there are the dwarves and the thieves. You know why? Because in the original version of this film, before the internet got mad because of it, the dwarves weren't supposed to be a part of this film. They were gonna be replaced by these thieves. And they do a lot of reshoots. They added the dwarves in, but they decided to keep the thieves also as a part of this film. So I'm sitting here wondering, alright, where does this lead? And when they meet, the dwarves and the thieves met, I kept asking myself, am I seeing two different movies? Because their interaction comes across as an unnatural interaction. Because, as I mentioned before, it seems like Disney didn't know why they include both the dwarves and the thieves. If you were gonna include the dwarves, just include the dwarves. Remove the thieves, because the thieves in this film doesn't really have a really compelling reason to be in it, because the whole point is just Snow White and the 7 dwarfs. That's it, alright? The other thing, you know, Disney likes to do musical, include music in some of the reboots that they've been making. For this one, man, the musical numbers did not help at all. The musical numbers really distract you from the film, and it really doesn't fit, even though they're singing happily and everything that they do that relates to the musical numbers in this film really is flat. You, as an audience, really don't feel nothing. You really don't feel joy. You're just seeing this film to get through it. Well, that's what I did. And let me tell you what, watching this film was a torture. I'll tell you this, if I wasn't reviewing this film, if I wasn't a reviewer, I wouldn't even bother to watch this film. It is that bad, and going through it wasn't easy. It was a torture, alright? Also, there is a big problem in the climax of this film. In the climax, Snow White and all of the people in the close of the castle rally up into the queen's castle, and they rally up with singing, right? What are they singing? Well, I don't know, and I don't care. They're just singing all around the place, and somehow Snow White defeats the queen very easily with that song. I don't know what's the point of that climax scene, but anyway, it really doesn't feel climactic at all. She's just singing, and then the queen gets irritated and then comes down the throne to face her, and the face-off is really awful. I don't know why they chose this way to end a film like this. I know that this film was gonna be bad, alright? But I did not expect this film to be this atrocious, because watching this film felt like an abomination, really. And as far as Disney remakes go on, this is definitely one of the worst rebooted movies that they have ever put out, because they inserted a lot of things, the thieves that wasn't supposed to be a part of this film, and the musical numbers also did not work. Rachel Zegler doesn't really embody Snow White. Yes, she plays the character, but that's it. She doesn't feel like the Snow White that we know. To conclude this film, well, it is a mess, guys. And hear me out. If Disney doesn't want to do remakes, reboots with justice, well, it's better to stop making these reboots, because with making these reboots but also destroying our childhood characters really hurts the brand, because if you ask people right now, what are your thoughts on the recent Disney reboots, most of them will say that it's bad, it's horrendous, it's atrocious. And this film takes it to the worst level, because almost every element of this film did not work. And the worst part is, it would have been fine if this film wasn't made at all. Just watch the original and just don't make this. If you want to make it right, alright? Just make it as a reimagining of the original story. Stick to the original story. Don't include anything new if it's bad. If it ain't broken, why fix it? That is the best way that I can use to describe the entirety of this film. The acting is awful. The CGI is very noticeable. The thieves doesn't really include a lot of purpose, a lot of reasons for their involvement, and the characterization of Snow White is basically just a girl boss. She's there to really tell the dwarfs to do anything for her. And the climax really wasn't climactic at all. And the thing is, I won't remember this film tomorrow. I will completely wipe it out of my mind because watching it, it was a torture. Alright, so to conclude this review, I will give Snow White the lowest score that I have ever given in my review channel, and that is a 1 out of 10 because they really didn't even try. If you want to watch Snow White, just watch the original. That is the classic. That is the definitive version of the story. Just pretend that this film doesn't exist and you'll be fine. Just watch the original and that's it. That's the definitive version of Snow White that there is. So 1 out of 10. This is the lowest score that I've ever given, but that's the fact. I hope from the failure of Snow White, Disney really studied why it fails. And do we even need to pump up a lot of reboots, a lot of new movies based on classic stories if we're gonna make it right? And the main important question is, do you think this reboot should have existed in the first place, or just think of the original, watch the original, and that's it? Because this film was an absolute abomination. I'm not joking when I'm saying that. It's dead serious. 1 out of 10, and see you on the next video.